The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, is a key policy tool that forms part of the European Green Deal to reduce net greenhouse gas emissions across Europe and abroad. Within this context, CBAM can be defined as a carbon border tax on embedded greenhouse gas emissions of carbon-intensive products imported into the EU, also from South Africa. It can be viewed as an opportunity to drive local businesses towards greener economic resilience and green innovation. In this series, we will unpack the implications on business, building business resilience, key opportunities, where to find support, and much more. This episode is part of the Preparing the Western Cape Business for CBAM Challenges and Opportunities, a three-part series supported by the Western Cape Government Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, produced in partnership with GreenCape, featuring Ilse van Schalkwyk, Chief Director, Economic Sector Support within the branch Economic Operations in the Western Cape Department of Economic Development and Tourism. Ilse, welcome. It's lovely to have you on the show. Which sectors in the Western Cape are most vulnerable to the implications of CBAM?
In terms of CBAM, the sectors that is going to mostly be affected, and this is specifically with regards to the CBAM regulations from the EU, is the imports of iron, steel, aluminium, electricity, certain fertilizers, cement, as well as hydrogen, and certain precursors with regards to some of the downstream activities. It's very much focused with regards to their phase one rollout in terms of their heavy carbon users, where the EU is vulnerable in terms of their imports. So that's sort of the first soft landing where they're encouraging these heavy carbon users in terms of some of the reporting and showing once a year with regards to how they've actually decarbonized before they start penalizing them. What we've seen that in terms of the Green Deal, and even before the 2026 sort of deadline of that more, how can I say, the negative incentive with regards to being taxed heavily, then we're seeing that some of the retailers and other industries are now, from a reporting perspective, having to report on their own value chain. So let's say, for example, Tesco, who is a food retailer in the UK, and in other parts of the EU, they're now looking at asking their suppliers with regards to how are you decarbonizing and how have you, what is your carbon footprint? So you're seeing farmers, you're seeing or anybody, because they are this massive globalized sort of value chain, asking for their suppliers' carbon certification, carbon footprint certification. And this has resulted in other industries along the value chain having to now speed up their whole process with regards to decarbonizing and reporting. So you're not just seeing the industries or the sectors that are sort of just targeted as phase one CBAM sort of heavy hitters. So you're going to be taxed by 2026 if you haven't started this process. But you're also seeing this ramp up of other industries and value chains having to catch up in terms of understanding their footprint and how do I report on this, so that one, I don't lose that international market and offset.
And what can these sectors do to build resilience against these implications?
So sectors, first of all, need to make sure that and industry bodies have to play a more active role in terms of their readiness with regards to decarbonisation. And examples and industries that really been leading in this space is some of the agriculture sectors in the Western Cape. So Department of Agriculture with a company called Blue North have they been proactive with some of the fruit exporters, the wine industry, etc., where they've developed a sort of a cheaper certified carbon footprint or toolkit in terms of measuring your impact. So the first thing is getting that education, and then the businesses have to understand their own footprint. So are we empowered in terms of understanding? And it's not new. Carbon trading, carbon footprint has been around for the last decade. It's just now that you've got to get your house in order in terms of understanding your energy usage, your energy sources, working with other work that we're also doing is in terms of your green molecules, working with the City of Cape Town in terms of is there an ability to actually issue a certificate to businesses who can say, oh, I'm actually getting my, and again, not just greenwashing, but my energy is being sourced or supplied from, let's say, Stellenbosch Dam, which immediately decreases their overall carbon footprint. Other aspects is in terms of collaborating with regards to a mini grid in like industrials area, where they can actually look at water sharing, um, waste, as well as their energy sharing, and that's already happening. Your load curtailment areas, etc., etc. So, being empowered in terms of knowledge, working as an industry to make sure we cut costs with regards to any of these certification collaboration aspects, like the agriculture sector did. They shared the cost of developing the tool, as well as making sure you understand the risks in terms of your supply chain. So you can't just ignore it. Critically for us is, how do you get ahead of the risks? So making sure your house is in order in terms of the necessary adaptive behaviors you are going to have to put in place in your business. And that's the decision makers have to drive that. It's not just an add-on, especially if you're an export-led business.
Ilse, what are the opportunities you see in CBAM for the Western Cape green economy?
The opportunities are actually more. So in terms of, if you're just looking at the current move with regards to the just energy transition process, and South Africa is playing a leader in that role. But in one aspect, Eskom has done us a favor because it's pushed a lot of investment in terms of renewables, specifically in the energy space. So a lot of companies have de-risked, not because of CBAM or the Green Deal, but because of just making sure that the energy supply is stable. And that's actually de-risked them to a degree. But the investment opportunities with regards to green hydrogen is massive. We're doing a lot of work here in terms of our green hydrogen strategy. So utilizing that as an input, not just as an export commodity, which is enormous and limitless in terms of the offset with regards to green hydrogen. That's one opportunity, but also in terms of how do you utilize the green hydrogen as an energy source in your production capability. So the investments in terms of that, as well as the opportunity with regards to climate change. So being adaptive will, what we've seen is that businesses see the first movers will do it not necessarily just because of the cost aspect. So, and then you start seeing businesses are now making the choice to adapt and bring in different water sources, looking at how they, let's say, in the hotel industry, even they're looking at it with regards to their energies, their laundry, their supplies, etc. And it's actually going to save them costs in the long run. So it might be an initial capital outlay, and there's different opportunities with regards to that, but it can actually assist the businesses in being more efficient and effective. Other opportunities that we're seeing with regards to CBAM is, if we get ahead of the curve, if businesses actually become more decarbonized, then you are also going to be very likely a better choice as a importer from a different country because of your lower carbon footprint in terms of the other suppliers. So that's the other aspect. Because we live in this global world, people are already doing that, let's say, in terms of China. So you're already seeing shifts in terms of value chain. So companies and countries are looking at different, let's say, suppliers. Another opportunity is also how we are accessing and utilizing our whole positioning on the African continent with regards to the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, and how we can lead in that space in Africa per se. And as I said, whether you're a cement supplier, changing the opportunity in terms of investing in research and development is critical for us to be competitive on that global stage to your competitor in China or India per se. But that will require forward thinking and investing into the right elements in your business.
And in closing, what support is available for business to mitigate some of the risks and leverage the opportunities in CBAM?
We are tackling CBAM, and the whole sustainability is becoming actually such a big theme across of our business government. It's no longer just responding to weather or climate change. It's no longer just responding to pressures with regards to, let's say, post-COVID, where we had a whole logistics challenge. Sustainability is now becoming a critical part of our thinking in every sector. both from a knowledge, so looking out, we're really trying to make sure that we cover the costs and that businesses know and are informed. Work in terms of, and please keep a lookout on our social media platforms, our websites, etc. We're trying to become that one-stop shop for you in terms of just empowering a CBAM knowledge portal. So we've just put it on our website. So if you on our Western Cape government.gov.za, you search CBAM, we're trying to cluster all that information for you in one place. Secondly, working with our partners like Westgrow, who we are running a range of workshops, webinars, and I know you're going to be talking to my colleague, Karen Bosman. We're trying to empower and having a little bit more face-to-face contact with businesses in terms of just dealing with their specific industry concerns, risks, help us make us get through this quicker, as well as international in terms of tips, etc. So it's crowding in resources and knowledge and empowering the businesses and the industries with as much information as we navigate, because it is a changing landscape. It's not a start and an end. We're learning and innovating as we go on. The second aspect is we're also investing in an industry carbon footprint calculating toolkit this year. So we're using the lessons learned from the Department of Agriculture and trying to develop a bit more of a generic tool specifically for the manufacturing sector, who are very much at risk because they're very heavy, intense users with regards to electricity, water, etc. So that tool is something which we are developing in this financial year, which is by March 2025. We should have something on the table, and we want to partner with industries on that to get it up and running and utilized as much as possible. The third aspect is working with our partners like Department of DP, of Planning, Environmental Affairs and Planning, and of course GreenCape, which is bringing a webinar like this, as well as in terms of education and giving that specialized technical expertise with regards to assisting businesses. So not just additional to our industry awareness, which is exactly this sort of support, but as well as using the GreenCape inbox as a sort of a hotline where any business can phone them to get technical advice, as well as access to a specialist to come out and see their operation, etc. So that arrangement with GreenCape is also available to any business, and I encourage them to use it. And there's more information they can find about that on our website. And then thirdly, with regards to the opportunities, I'll be remiss if I don't mention it. We also don't just want to treat it as a negative, but encouraging investment. So we're busy with the Western Cape Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, which is all about matching the investment pipeline to real bankable projects. So this is a big project we're currently underway. There is a national JET IP, and this will be our provincial JET IP to unlock some of that green financing, both from a public and a private sector perspective. And then keep on the lookout. There's a lot of events, and whether it's from green hydrogen to EVs to logistics, as well as our first, which we'll host hopefully in February, March next year, our Western Cape Investment Summit, which again is there to profile our investment opportunities as a province. And if you could just see our investment pipeline and projects we've landed over the last, let's say, 3 years, in terms of the majority of them are in the green economy. So whether it's specialized manufacturing, whether it's wind turbines, whether it's solar, etc., there's a lot of investment and business opportunities in the green economy, which again is another commodity which will assist us in terms of our export-led approach.
A big thank you to Ilse van Schalkwyk, the Western Cape Government and GreenCape for this insightful conversation on Future Cities Africa.